guess it is. It is on. Revisa tu corazón para hallar el corazón en un rincón, pero busca el amor, ni placer ni pasión, el amor. Lo que lo hace otro bien, busca el amor en ti. Se multiplica si lo repartí, busca el amor en ti. Solo el que ama puede ser feliz, busca el amor en ti. Se multiplica si lo repartí, busca el amor en ti. Solo el que ama puede ser feliz. Busca el amor en ti, en ti. Join me in the English. Your heart's a chameleon, never open to change, like any flower, spreading out for the sun. Petals bursting with power to be loved. And that's reaching someone else. Put the love in you and find the joy that comes to those who care. Seek out the love in you. It only grows whenever it is shared. Seek out the love in you and find the joy that comes to those who care. Seek out the love in you. It only grows whenever it is shared. Seek out the love in you, in you.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta. I'm Pam Hayward, and I'm president of our church's Board of Trustees. This installation of the Reverend Dr. Gaye Williams Ortiz represents a wonderful milestone for our church as we continue to move forward. I'm pleased to see so many guests here to help celebrate with our members and friends. As I was thinking about today, I was thinking about fate. I've known Reverend Gaye for more than a decade, in fact, even before she was Reverend Gaye. We taught together as colleagues in the Department of Communication at Augusta University. And years ago, when I was on the worship committee for our church, I thought Gaye would make an excellent guest speaker in the pulpit. Her academic work was in the area of film and theology, and I knew her to be a talented speaker. Even though at that time she was involved with the Catholic Church on an international level, I knew she shared similar sensibilities with our congregation and would be able to craft a sermon that would speak to us. Little did I know that Gaye's visit here as a guest in the pulpit would eventually lead to a change in her life course and the life of this congregation. She came as a guest, but she never left. All those years ago, I could not have predicted that today, not only would Reverend Dr. Gaye be installed as our minister, but I would be coincidentally serving as our board president and get to be a part of this wonderful ceremony. So I am very pleased that our guest has now become our minister. So please rise as you are willing and able, in body or in spirit, and join me in singing hymn number 358, Rank by Rank, Again We Stand.
Please gather with me in a spirit of connection, a spirit of love and life, a spirit of hope. We have all gathered here on this special place at a liminal moment to celebrate not only a change of seasons in the life of this congregation, a turning of spiritual leadership, and a formal returning of one who has found with great humility her home here among this gathered congregation. We ask the Spirit of life and love, which is so powerful among us, to grant this congregation that it may continue to be inspired to work for peace, love, and justice, especially in these incredibly trying times. May the example and memory of those who have gone before always inform all of those who are chosen to guide by word and deed toward a greater truth, a greater service to humankind. May it be so. You may be seated.
Forged in time of war, the flaming chalice offered hope to refugees. When we kindle its flame, we are reminded that we are part of a long line of truth seekers, justice makers, and hope bringers. We light our chalice, marking this time and this gathering as sacred.
I am the Reverend Jan Taddeo. Reverend Patty Hanneman sends her regrets for not being able to be here at this moment. I offer these blessings to Pastor and People by Clinton Lee Scott. Why shall the people assemble, and for what purpose shall they be gathered together? They shall come seeking in their united worship that which none can find in solitude. They shall be as those who in darkness seek the light, and as those who thirst, looking for the living springs. Because of their deep and continuous need for one another shall the people worship. And who will lead in the ways of light, justice, wisdom, and peace? Not they that say, "Come stand with me on the heights," but they that say, "Come, let us find together the ascending path." Let them know little, but who long greatly for instruction, and them that are humble in their knowledge be the leaders.
Good afternoon. I've been asked to read this prayer, Psalm 23, for this moment by Kevin Tarser. But I want to start off by recognizing the 30 years of precious friendship that I have with Gaye Ortiz and with her family. And I want to recognize this today in thanking you all for the welcome that you have given me on a number of occasions now since I've been here, and also today with my partner Rachel, that we were able to come here and join the choir. Gaye likes nothing other than to make you work. So, anyway, Psalm 23 for this moment by Kevin Tarser. I'd like to point out this prayer, which is Psalm 23 recast in the language of love, was written for the 2017 GA Memorial Service, excuse me, in honor of former UUA moderator Jim Key. Today was chosen, this date was chosen in part so that Jim could attend, but sadly this was not to be. So this is for Jim, but it's for Gaye, and it's for all of us. May I remember in this tender moment that love is my guide, always, shepherding me towards ways of openness and compassion. I have what I need, really, with love at my side, above me, below me, in front of me, behind me, inside every cell of me, love infused everywhere. Just when the weight of the world I inhabit threatens to drop me in place and press my hope down into the ground beneath me, love invites me to rest for a gentle while and leads the center of my soul to the quiet, still, restoring waters nearby that somehow I had not noticed. And so, love, quietly, sets me once again on its tender and demanding path. Even when the walls close around me and the cries of death echo through untold corners, gripping my heart with fear and sadness, I know that all will be well, that I will be well. When love whispers near to me, glints at the corner of my eye, rests with gentle and persistent invitation upon my shoulders. Yes, love blesses me. Even as the sources and symbols of my pain look on, love blesses me from its infinite well. And I turn and notice that goodness and kindness and grace follow me everywhere, everywhere I go. I live in a house of love, love that will not let me go. I live in a house of love and always will. Thank you.
Let us be together in a mood of prayer and meditation. Let us bring our hearts, our minds, and our bodies into the presence of the sacred. Precious mystery of life, dwell with each of us from the pulsing presence and wisdom of our hearts. Bring our attention away from distracting thought so we may center ourselves in the feeling flow of life herself. Hold us in the calming embrace of an autumn lake at dusk. Move with grace as the to and fro, the ebb and flow of restful breath. Be the very breath that breathes us, that breathe all creatures and the chorus of life into being and becoming. In this calm, help us listen with every fiber to the longings that call to our hearts from the embrace that aches and offers within. Here we hear and feel your call in the quiet. Here, dear mystery, we touch the truth that beckons us into being as your companions. Here we dwell in the dark and silent infinity of your pregnant fullness. Here we sense your longing for birthing anew. Here we see and feel the sun rising above the horizon, making visible the interior landscape of our souls. Here, now the pulse quickens, awakening us to the tug of truth, a wisdom we, with outside eyes, cannot fathom. Here, we can know as only individual seekers can know, sensing love's presence, coaxing, calling in ways we start to detect as a fresh momentum, a current flowing within, gently leading us from the heart. Here, we feel the flow of love, heart's river, carrying us ever toward fulfillment, toward and to the ocean of communion that awakens us and all to the ever abundant dance of life. In the grace of this place, we say, Amen.
Well, it was quite an honor for me to be asked to play something for Gaye's installation. And I really didn't know what would be appropriate to play for an installation. So I thought a good place would be start with something Gaye likes. And after a performance I did at the Morris Museum, I heard that she enjoyed a song that I started on the shakuhachi and then switched to flute, and that would be the version I did of Moon River. So here is that for Gaye.
It is my pleasure to introduce today's guest speaker, the Reverend Don Cooley. The Reverend Cooley is a Unitarian Universalist minister and blogger who believes that Unitarian Universalists are called to love the hell out of the world and tries to practice this on a regular basis. She is passionate about helping congregations adapt to the changing cultural religious landscape. After 7 years as the minister of First Unitarian Church in Louisville, Kentucky, this passion for helping congregations led her both to begin a master's program in nonprofit management and to join the staff of the southern region of the UUA. Prior to Louisville, she and her family lived in Minneapolis, and she briefly played competitive roller derby as Liv Fearless with the Derby City Roller Girls.
I'm always curious how people will introduce me and if that will make it in there or not, so thank you. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today, representing the southern region of the Unitarian Universalist Association. As my colleague in the Mid-America region, the Reverend Dr. Lisa Presley, often points out, no right is more precious to a congregation than the right to choose their own clergy. It is something that distinguishes our free faith from many others, and it is a hallmark of how we are with one another. But unlike with many installations, perhaps most of the ones that I've been to, this one does not mark the start of a relationship, but recognizes a bond that already exists, one that has transformed over the years. Y'all know each other pretty well by now, and you know what you're getting into. Your relationship and your history of ministry together and what you can look forward to in the future reminds me of one of my favorite quotes from the Reverend Jack Mendelson. He said that the future of the liberal church is almost totally dependent on these two factors: great congregations, whether large or small, and effective, dedicated ministers. The strangest feature of their relationship, he said, is that they create each other. Great congregations create effective, dedicated ministers, and effective, dedicated ministers create great congregations. It is a mutually beneficial relationship, and I have certainly seen that that is indeed the case here. Together, UUCA and Reverend Gaye have decided to be a force for liberal religion in Augusta, to reach out to new people and longtime residents alike, people you know need our saving faith, and you are willing to put yourselves out there to take risks in service of your mission. This is what makes a great congregation. But what is it that creates the environment where this type of mutually beneficial relationship can exist between a minister and her congregation? I think perhaps the most important quality is the one that was touched on in the Clinton Lee Scott reading from the opening words and in our lovely music: humility. Great ministers and great congregations know what it means to be humble. Now, I know that sounds like an oxymoron. How can you be great and humble? I'm not talking about, and I don't believe Scott was talking about, humility or humbleness as a sort of meek, wishy-washy, not really there-ness. Instead, leaders, whether ministers or lay leaders of a congregation, need the type of humility that gives strength and grounding. Humility in this case is about minimizing our selfish needs and maximizing the bigger purpose, the vision, the mission. Recent studies have shown that the #1 quality business leaders need to succeed in business is humility. I don't think they saw that coming. In congregations, humble ministers focus on the mission rather than their own reputation. Humble congregations focus on the mission rather than the fake fights that might distract from it. So how does one attain the humility necessary to create an environment that fosters greatness? I think that there are 4 ways that we can intentionally practice it. First, being humble, practicing humility, means acknowledging our limitations and understanding that we are human. It means not pushing ourselves to the point of collapse. It means making sure that we take breaks, vacations, sabbatical, time off for both ministers and lay leaders. It means understanding that I am not God. For many years, I thought I was. And you may laugh at that, and I never would have phrased it that, but I thought I could control everything, or at least I tried to. This tight control on everything meant that I could hardly grow as a person because growth requires change, and my fist was clenched tight to prevent that change. It wasn't until I acknowledged my limitations, my finiteness, that I was able to keep growing as a human being, and the experience was very humbling. Second, practicing humility means recognizing that there is truth out there that we do not know. When a person walks through the doors of a church, we don't know their story. We don't know what they struggle with or what they celebrate. The 5th sacred stone of liberal religion calls us to humility when it reminds us that revelation is not sealed, that we do not hold all truth before us, but are finding new ones regularly. Being humble means being open to the truths of others, even when they challenge what we thought was true. Unitarian Universalists are having an opportunity to practice humility right now in our work around white supremacy. White UUs have been confronted with the truth of how white supremacy is embedded in our systems and in our congregations. UUs of color have been telling us this for a long time, but we did not listen. Now, however, we are trying to accept this truth and then work through it. Though sometimes the road is bumpy, from where I sit in congregational life, it looks like we are mostly choosing to accept with humility what we've been told for all these years. Over half our congregations participated in the white supremacy teach-ins to help us acknowledge our limitations and understand how we have made mistakes, and to learn from them and work together for a better future. There is a lot of humble pie being eaten right now within Unitarian Universalism, and it is good for us. But it isn't easy. And this is a 3rd aspect of how we can practice humility. Being humble means being vulnerable. It means knowing how to admit when we are wrong, to admit when we have hurt someone else. Because we will hurt each other. We are human beings. We make mistakes. We get mad at board meetings. We resent that someone got something that we didn't. We let our privilege get in the way of our empathy. Humility calls us to stay at the table, to put mission first, and to stay in covenant, to acknowledge our errors, even though we have broken our vows 1,000 times and will break them 1,000 more. I heard once that religions are based on one of 3 different ways of being right. Right belief, right action, or right relationship. As Unitarian Universalists, I believe we seek right relationship, knowing that being in right relationship will lead us to right action. But being in right relationship means that even when we have fallen short of our ideals, fallen short of who we want to be, we return again in love. We make ourselves vulnerable. We apologize for how we have harmed someone. We lay our hearts open, humbly seeking reconciliation. Not because we are worthless or shameful, but because we know that when I put my hand in yours, together we can do what I cannot do alone. And this leads to the final aspect of how we can practice being humble, and that is putting the mission before our selfish wants. Practicing humility means knowing our self-worth. Knowing at our core that we have value and purpose, that we have inherent worth and dignity as human beings. As a youngster growing up in an evangelical tradition, I was taught that pride is a sin, but I chafe against that. Pride, knowing your self-worth, is essential to being whole, to knowing your strengths and your growing edges, to knowing your limitations, to being self-differentiated between the pulls of the self and the pulls of community. I believe it is not pride, but hubris that goeth before the fall, arrogance that there is only one right way and that way is mine. If we have humility without pride, without a sense of self-worth, we see ourselves as worthless, as shameful, and we are unable to bring our whole rich selves to the table. Being humble knows that we are not inherently better than anyone else, but that does not make us worthless. It is recognizing that we are an essential part of the machinery that is driving toward the fulfillment of the world we want to create. The future of the liberal church, Mendelssohn says, is dependent on the co-creation of great congregations and effective, dedicated ministers. And a key ingredient to that mutually beneficial relationship is leading with a humility that puts mission first. A humility in which leaders acknowledge our limitations, seek the truths of others, allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and know our self-worth. Ministry, living together as minister and congregation, gives us many opportunities to practice being humble with one another, whether it's a discussion around purchasing a new building, or in a pastoral care visit, in a board meeting, or in a religious education fair, after Sunday worship, or in a memorial service. Blessings to you and your ministry together on this day and in the weeks and months and years to come. From what I can see, the future of the liberal church is in good hands.
Reverend Ortiz, will you come forward for the act of installation? And you'll see the insert has the installation act, and there'll be a point where I'm going to ask you all to be a part of this as well. No right is more precious to a free congregation than that of choosing its own minister. By the same token, no right is more precious to a Unitarian Universalist minister than that of choosing the congregation she will serve. It is with profound feeling, therefore, that we formally recognize the relationship now existing between the people of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta and the Reverend Dr. Gaye Williams Ortiz, whom we have freely chosen and who has freely chosen us. Our choice is based not only on our heritage, but also upon the hopes and aspirations we hold for the future. Reverend Gaye, we recognize this act symbolizes a covenant together. We would have you dwell among us, preaching the truth in freedom and love. We would have you educate our children and counsel our youth. We would have you minister to us in times of joy and sorrow. We would have you lead us in a mutual quest toward a greater understanding of what it means to build the beloved community. Do you accept the invitation of this church to its ministry?
I do, with your help.
We, on our part, pledge ourselves to remember that the work of this church belongs to us all. As we would ask you to be charitable toward our failures, so will we also remember that you are human and can falter. We recognize that we bear a responsibility in your material welfare and spiritual development. We pledge ourselves to maintain the freedom of both pulpit and pew. We pledge to assist you and cooperate with you in our common moral and spiritual growth. Are you willing to take up these obligations?
We are ready and willing to take upon ourselves these obligations. Therefore we, the
install me as minister of this church, and offer you our encouragement and assistance in discharging your duties among us.
With joy and a deep sense of responsibility, I take up the ministry to which you have called me. May our association together promote justice, compassion, love, reason, and spiritual growth among you and with all people. Thank you.
I'm very honored to be able to sing a song that I wrote that Gaye likes. And I'm very happy to have a minister who loves art and music, and especially that she not only loves the fine classical and jazz, but she also loves the ordinary creative person's material as well. So. I shall bow down, I shall be overcome, I shall be moved by faith, by hope, by joy, by love, by faith, by hope, by joy, by love. The sun on the leaves, the wind in the sky, the dampness of earth, the dance of a firefly, the breath of a wish, a whisper of hope, the cry of a hungry child, your love on my shoulder, the morning, the evening, sunset and sunrise, my fingers and lips, my toes and my eyes, my father, my mother, my sisters and brothers, my friends and relations, and all the world's lovers. I shall bow down, I shall be overcome, I shall be moved by faith, by hope, by joy, by love, by faith, by hope, by joy, by love.
It is good to be here. It's good to be here as a layperson, a Unitarian Universalist layperson, and jazz lover as you. 54 years. Okay. Ministry, it's a blessing. It's a huge responsibility, but it is a blessing. It can be most rewarding, particularly ministering in a Unitarian Universalist community. It can also be a challenge, ministering to us, Unitarian Universalists, ministering to us with our principles and purposes and our common values that we cherish, and our multiple ways that we have in realizing what matters to us as a community.
I'm going to come stand up here with you.
Thank you. I like that. In rewarding times and also in challenging moments, remember, do not forget, remember the importance of encouraging and nurturing others to feel like they matter. Nancy Schlossberg and Morris Rosenberg, two social scientists, they call this mattering. Mattering, it's not just a word, it's a motive. It's a motive, and it has a reciprocal kind of significance. Significance of feeling that we are in community and that others depend upon us and that they are interested in us. Not only interested in us, they are concerned about our fate. Mattering is spiritual work. I charge you to do the work of mattering. Do the work of building community. Do the work of building community where all God's children matter. Know that your congregation, please know that your congregation is beyond these walls. Allow yourself to be ministered to. Trust your colleagues. Stay in association with the wider community. Give yourself, please give yourself permission to care for yourself. Be sure to keep reminding yourself that life is beyond these walls, and be sure to seek it, to give nurturance, and to give nurturance and accept nurturance from your wonderful family. And with all the love, diversity, and hope that reside within their embrace. I also charge you to do justice. Do justice in right relationship. And to know that at times it might be difficult to do justice and feel a sense of mattering. In order for an individual or congregation to feel like they matter, they must know that they're being heard. I charge you to listen for meaning. Listen to your congregation. Listen to your inner wisdom. Listen to your heart. Know that it all matters. Listen to the multiple standpoints. Listen to the conflict that exists within these walls and outside. Know that conflict, do not run away. Conflict is predictable. It's predictable, so take the opportunity to embrace the conflict. Know that it's predictable. Stay in communications, even when you feel confused, frightened, or unsure of yourself. I charge you to do justice. Know that when there's conflict, as I said, it's predictable, but be mindful of the practice of mattering, which you do so well. Mattering and doing justice are two of the greatest tasks of ministry. Know that you and those you have loved matter and value justice. Help them make it right. Be yourself. Do justice and practice mattering.
Leon Spencer, Dr. Leon Spencer, that was wonderful. We are so grateful for you for the time you spent as one of our interim co-presidents, and we are honored to have you here today. I am fortunate that I get to see Leon a lot. He's in my congregation in Statesboro. But I want to say to you too, Leon, that when you gave that charge to Reverend Gaye Ortiz, there were many other ministers in here listening. We listened too. Amen. Thank you. Now, he gave the charge to the minister. I get to charge the congregation. Reverend Gaye asked me to charge this congregation. I said, I'm delighted to do that. So I'm so glad to be back here. As many of you know, I was here in 2005, 2006, quite a few years ago. I came here and did my internship, and I fell in love with this congregation. I love y'all. Yeah. And also, I fell in love with Reverend, well, she wasn't then Reverend then. I fell in love with Dr. Gaye Ortiz. You see, Gaye and I had a lot in common. We were both had an academic background, had been professors, that kind of thing, you know. And we both liked a lot of the same kinds of things. And I thought then, wow, she probably would make a good minister. And lo and behold, what do we have? I was thrilled when she decided to go into the ministry. And I'm even more thrilled to be here today. Now, a lot of folks will tell you, and I was told too, that, you know, it's not really healthy to call someone from among you. You have to go get a stranger to be your minister. I didn't do that. I've been in Statesboro for 12 years. I'm in my 12th year now as your minister. That's my home church. It can be done. And I told Reverend Gaye, I said, it can be done. And you all know too, because you not only know her as one amongst you, your member, as a member, but now you have known her as your minister. I love that UUA has this developmental ministry thing where you can now be a developmental minister and then they have the option of calling. What a wonderful idea that is. Usually the way we do it is we speed date for a week and then get married. And then you wake up and say, who's at my bed? So then, you know, you really have a good thing here. You all know each other and know each other well, and that is just wonderful. And so I think my charge to you has got to be a little different than it would be for most people because you already know your minister and know her well. So I'm going to give you the same charge that was given to me by Reverend Bill Phillips. It's just 3 phrases, and I'll elaborate a little bit. Reverend Bill Phillips gave my charge at the installation of me in Brunswick. I'm now in Statesboro and Brunswick. You know, I go back and forth, one of these circuit rider preachers, I guess. But I have a place there, too, and I'm back and forth. I'm in my 4th year there. And so last year they installed me, and he gave me a charge of 3 things. And I don't have to have any notes because it's just 3 things, and I remember them, and you will remember them, too. And you will do it, too. Now, it's just 3 things. And here, I'm going to say them one time for you so you remember now. It's pay up, show up, and stand up. Now say that. Pay up, show up, and stand up. Now I'm going to elaborate a little just in case you don't get what I mean. All right, the pay up. You have got you a really good minister, an excellent minister, and you know it too. And that's not always easy to come by, is it? Now, you need to pay her well. When budget time comes around, you need to make sure that she is deserving and you pay her well. Now, for some reason, we women ministers have a hard time advocating for ourselves, especially Southern women. And Gaye went off to England and lost her Southern accent. She's a Southern woman, though, just like me. And we are always taught that we take a back seat, you know. You don't advocate for yourself. You take the back seat. Mama eats the chicken neck. You know, some of y'all know what I'm talking about. Get the good pieces to everybody else. So I'm going to advocate for her. You make sure that you treat her right and that you pay her well. And I know you say, well, we're in the box. Well, yeah, you're in the box. But you can do better than that. Okay? So you think about that. And when the time comes, you said, Reverend Jane said, she charged us. Okay? Now, not only that, but when you go out to eat with her, pick up her ticket. You may say, well, this is just a social occasion, but I'll tell you the truth. Once we become your pastor, that hat doesn't come off. It is pastoral care she's giving you. You get her ticket. And if she objects, you say, Reverend Jane said, charge me to do this. Get my ticket. That's pay up. What was the next one? Show up. Well, I'm preaching to the choir here because you showed up today. So, yeah, good for you. You show up. You show up to worship services and other kinds of things. Now, the ones that don't come, you tell them, okay? You show up. You have to be there. When we do so, we prepare. You know how you're at home and you prepare a nice meal for your family. You get the recipe down. You go and buy all the ingredients. You prepare it so well. You have the table set. And then maybe they don't come in on time. Where are they? We prepare a good, nurturing, spiritual meal for you. It takes us a lot of time, believe me. You need to show up. And don't be saying, well, I didn't like the topic that day that I saw in the bulletin. It doesn't matter. You're going to get something out of it. And even if you don't, your being here will mean something to somebody else. Maybe somebody needs your hug that day or your smile. You show up to church activities. So you're going to pay up, you're going to show up, and what's the last one? Stand up. All right, stand up. Now, I was hesitant about putting that in because I know everybody can't physically stand, but you can take a stand. Everyone can take a stand. And wow, we need to do it now. You know that number 119, I was just looking at it. Once to every soul and nation comes the moment to decide. This is it, folks. And our nation now, it is a critical time. And is especially important for Unitarian Universalists and for other faiths as well, but we can be a bridge in so many ways. It is a critical time for this congregation. It is a critical time for our denomination, and we have had to eat a little humble pie, but it's a critical time for us to stand up. We have to stand up. And Reverend Gaye is going to be out there in the community with these other community ministers, taking a stand with you, and you all have to have her back. You have to have her back and stand with her. You have to stand for righteousness, for truth. We can't forget about truth in these days. You have to stand for justice. And for heaven's sakes, you have to stand for peace. War, what is it good for? Absolutely, yes. Stand for peace. What are the three things you're going to do? Pay up. Show up. Stand up. You do that, and your shared ministry, it is a shared ministry with Reverend Gaye, will soar up, upward and onward. Up, you yours. May it be so.
Reverend Jane brings me joy. This day brings me joy. It preceded me here in this pulpit. I'm a student. And see, this week I have my exams, and I was sitting with a piece of scripture and wrestling with it a little bit. It's from the book of Matthew, somewhere around chapter 12. It went like this. It said, it is surely easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter heaven. There's a reason they call that one of the harsh sayings of Jesus. There's some harshness in there. I'm here, by the way, I talk a lot, but I'm here to introduce the offering. So I hope the interpretation of this small piece of scripture is not that the church has a hostility toward the rich. I hope you're rich. I hope you brought your checkbooks. I hope we have a square to swipe your credit cards in the back. And I hope you don't feel put off in this church, whether you're rich or whether you're eating chicken necks there at home. There's space in these pews for both of those. Both of those. I've been trying to make sense of that passage. And you know what I think it means is when you show up in heaven, when you get to the gates, don't fill your bags with the extra cash. Don't show up with unspent money because there's no use for it there. And in that moment, when they say, we'll take these things from you, you won't be needing them, you'll be hit with regret. What I could have done during my life with the abundance I was given and wasn't going to need here. Let me bring this home Savannah style. I'm a Savannah Bananas fan. The Savannah Bananas are, I don't even know, they count as a minor league team, but in any case, they're the team we have season tickets to go see. Baseball team. And you get with your season tickets a whole booklet of beer tickets. Now, I am a moderate and ministerial man, and so throughout the season, I didn't really drink that much beer. And my wife drank even less. My 13-year-old son hardly did his part at all. Pious kind of family we are. And it was the last game of the season, and I was walking out the door, and I reached into my pocket, and I had a little stack of beer coupons left. And I said, oh, no. Because in that moment, it hit me that every time I was sitting there in that hot Georgia sun enjoying a cold IPA, I could have handed that ticket to someone next to me so they could have had one too. I missed an opportunity every game to give some of the blessing I had received and share it with someone else. And I got to the end of the season, and I sat there not with shame. I don't want any of us to feel shame around money or beer coupons. But a little regret. A little regret that I didn't use some of what I had been given to bring other people into the circle of that abundance. And so I'm going to go to that next year's baseball season a little differently. And today, as we get ready to give our gifts to the Living Tradition Fund, I want you to think of it in that way, because you have received a gift far exceeding a cold IPA on a hot Georgia evening. You have received a religious leader to bind this community, to support this community, to lead this community from behind for an entire lifetime. This is a gift that so many of our folks in this country yearn for, in other congregations, but the folks who haven't yet found a congregation. The money that we give today to the Living Tradition Fund supports folks in ministry, folks just starting out who are paying their tuition bill instead of paying the grocery bill. Folks at the other end who work their whole careers for salaries not necessarily in the box, but did it out of love, did it out of the movement of the Holy Spirit and the call to do this work, who now are in years where they need support and care. The Living Tradition Fund is a resource, I particularly think, at those both ends of the spectrum. Care for those who have cared for us. Remember them in their times of need, and see potential in those who have yet to serve us and who bring the hope that we so much need in this day. So there ends my message. Please, please don't reach the end of this season and have anything left in your pockets. Don't reach the end of this service and have anything left in your purses. Let us give thanks and gratefully receive today's offering.
We are also thankful to be here today to celebrate with Reverend Gaye. I'm Nancy Pellegrini, the Reverend at the Unitarian Church in Charleston, and we also bring you all our greetings and love on this joyous occasion. Thankful for dreams fulfilled every day. I'd like to ask you to join me in an attitude of meditation or prayer. Spirit of life and love, Spirit that swirls around us, energizing and imbuing this moment with the joy of the past and the glowing hope of the future. We come here in the bright sunshine of gratitude, giving thanks for the bonds and commitment between this minister and this congregation that we lift up and celebrate today. We give thanks for all that is Reverend Dr. Gaye Ortiz, for who she is and all her radiant gifts. We give thanks for her warm heart and strong resolve, for her devotion to family as a daughter, wife, mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother. We give thanks for her creativity, her embrace of music, art, and film, and her constant quest for new knowledge. We give thanks for her perseverance in tirelessly seeking justice for all people. We give thanks for her dedication to ministry and promoting the values of our progressive faith. We give thanks for this congregation, for journeying with their newly installed minister to continue to make this church a place of nurturing welcome from which they can go even farther to carry out the vision of commitment to put love into action, not just within these walls, but beyond, into the wider community and the bleak places of a world which sorely needs all of us. We give thanks today for the covenant between this minister and this congregation, remembering all the work, all the events, big and small, and the cloud of saints that have gone before, paving the way for this special day, this special moment. We give thanks for the endless possibility of the future, golden streams of light stretching out in bright, infinite rays as this congregation and this minister go forward together. In the name of all that is sacred, amen, and blessed be.
I am grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today. As I was walking up toward the church, I saw this bumper sticker which read, "The most radical thing we can do is to introduce people to one another." Whose car was that? Oh my goodness. I said, I have to meet this person. Oh my goodness. So, as I stated, I'm glad to be here. The song that I'm going to do today, I'll share the lyrics with you because I do want you to sing along with me as you feel comfortable. It's I need you to survive. Because I need you. I need you. You need me. You need me. We are all part of God's body. We are all part of God's body. Stand with me. Stand with me. Stand. Agree with me. Agree with me.
stand with me, agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I need you to survive. I need you. You need me. We're all a part of God's body. Stand with me. Agree with me. We're all a part of God's body. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important to me. I need you to survive. You are important to me. I pray for you. I pray. Pray for me. I love you. I need to survive. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to. I pray for you. Pray for me. You pray. I love you. I love you. I need you to. I won't harm you. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I love you. I need you. I pray for you. You pray for. I love you. I need you to. I won't harm you. I won't harm you with words from my. I love you. I love you. I need you to. So I pray for you. You pray for me. I love you. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I love you. I need. Take it up again. I pray for me. I love you. I need. I won't harm you. I won't harm you with words from my mouth. I love you. I need you to. It is His will that every need be supplied. You are important. You are important to me. I need you to. You are important. You are important. I need you to. One more time. You are important. You are.
Dearly beloved, it is an honor and a great pleasure to be speaking with you again. When I met you all in the fall of 2010, I met a congregation that was somewhat shell-shocked by the then recent challenging conflict. While the details varied, the distress was very much shared. And as we got acquainted, the commitment to the congregation, to beloved community, began to shine through. Despite significant differences of opinion and experiences, the underlying desire to restore and strengthen beloved community emerged as your number one goal. It was a pleasure to support you in this work. Your sincere effort and dedication to the vision of beloved community is what made your transitions and renewed stability, internal strength, and increased resilience a reality. I was and remain inspired by your commitment and hard work. You are a stellar example of the power of congregational renewal. I celebrate with you the installation of Reverend Gaye. Together, you have continued the ongoing work of making resilient, beloved community a reality. I wish you ever-increasing success and ongoing resilience as you share Unitarian Universalism in the CSRA and beyond. Blessed be. Amen.
My name is Sid Gates, and I'm an area Presbyterian minister, USA, also a senior partner in a private psychotherapy practice, and it's indeed an honor and joy for me to be asked to summons forth a few words today on behalf of the Progressive Religious Coalition, and I was asked today also to provide blessing and charge on behalf of the Interfaith Fellowship of Augusta. I'm not a member of Interfaith Fellowship of Augusta, but a number of friends are here that are, and Reverend Gaye, of course, is a member of both of our groups. So again, I am speaking for both of our organizations today. I have long esteemed the Unitarian tradition, and I say this every time I'm here to take part in worship or other events, and I say this in the community too, whenever anything is going on in this area that's just and decent and inclusive and diverse and loving and about the common good, the Unitarians are involved. The Unitarians are involved without fail. We of the Progressive Religious Coalition of Augusta have counted a very good thing to have Unitarian participation in the PRC from its inception in 2004, whether clergy staff or others mightily involved in the affairs of our local UUA. The Reverend Dr. Gaye Ortiz has continued the tradition most capably as head of staff of this congregation, impacting the PRC's vision, community onus, interfaith coalescing, coalition organization, membership recruitment, and esprit de corps. The PRC fervently is about advancing the cause of progressive critical thinking and decent, just human affairs locally and beyond. We seek to define many of the unjust realities of the world in spiritual, moral, and ethical ways. As our annual Martin Luther King Interfaith Service showcases, we deem interfaith fellowship and respecting to be crucial to the future of this planet. As the spiritual activist William Sloane Coffin reminds us, I believe in interreligious reverence and believe further that a spiritual and ethical renewal of all the great religions of the world would be the greatest countervailing force to present-day economic interests that in their pursuit of profits and growth are so relentless as to make even governments more accountable to the market than to their own citizens. Reverend Ortiz has faithfully and continuously demonstrated in our body her command of various pockets of injustice, oppression, victimization, marginalization, and such, and has with care and love, but most assuredly determined justice zeal, promoted creative and tangible responses to areas of need, again, both locally and beyond. She has consistently comported herself as a leader in our midst and a spiritual advisor we all look to for counsel. She has not been miserly in our midst with gifts the numinous has bestowed on her, and we can all be thankful for that. Our PRC charges the Reverend Dr. Gaye Ortiz to continue to be responsive and reflexive in the capable handling of affairs in this congregation and the radiating out arcs she has participated in and will hopefully initiate in the future. We charge and bless her to continue to be creative and imaginative in her works of ministry. No question, her spiritual faith buoys and constrains her, and we admonish her to continue to grow in her spiritual holdings with requisite study, continuing ed, and openness to all sources of spiritual imbuing available to her and us all. The PRC also charges her to be holistically healthy, to not be totally defined by her office in this great worship community, to grow in all her relationships with family, friends, and those she will add to that number. We hope and pray that she can take time away from her duties of office and organizational affairs to include the PRC, to live, love, and to learn to the fullest. Because as we all understand, the healthier we are as individuals, the more we have to give and influence others. It is the PRC's hope also that the members of this worship community will support Gaye in the pursuits I've just mentioned regarding her own mind, body, and spirit enriching. If you will do so, the return will be immeasurable for you in this community. Therefore, it is with our best love, devotion, respect, and commitment to learn from and with you that we, the Progressive Religious Coalition of Augusta and the Interfaith Fellowship of Augusta, bless this date, this installation, and we rejoice with you all. And amen, and amen.
So I have a lesson for this occasion in the style of a biblical reading. Now it came to pass that while the elder in Israel tarried in Babylon, a message came to him from a distant city saying, "Come thou and counsel with us. Help us to search out a priest, for the one that has served us has gone mad." And the elder in Israel arose and journeyed to that distant city, and when the men of affairs were assembled, the elder spake unto them, saying, "What manner of man seeketh thee to be your new priest?" And they answered and said unto him, "We seek a young man, yet with the wisdom of gray hairs, one that speaketh his mind freely, yet giveth offense to no one, that draweth the multitude to the temple on the Sabbath, but will not be displeased when we ourselves are absent. We desire one who has a gay mood, yet is of sober mind, that seeketh out dark sayings and prophecies, yet speaketh not over our heads, that filleth the temple, buildeth it up, yet defileth not the sanctuary with a motley assortment of strangers. We seeketh one that putteth the instruction of the young first, but requireth not that we become teachers, that causeth the treasury to prosper, yet asketh not that we give more of our substance. Verily, we seek a prophet that will be unto us a leader, but will not seek to change us, for we do not like to be disturbed." And the elder in Israel answered and said unto them, "When I have found such a priest, I will indeed send him unto you. But you may have to wait long, for the mother of such a one has not yet been born." Thankfully, when I came here as your developmental minister in 2013, the bar was not set quite that high. Today, I feel that I am loved and that my ministry is valued, but even more importantly, that I am of service. To have a purpose in life that somehow serves the need of a community, a faith tradition, and a world crying out for love and compassion is truly a blessing. Thank you all for being a part of that blessing. Some of you know my dad was adopted, and it was only later in my adult life that I got to meet some of the members of his biological family. And a cousin about my age, who I met for the first time at my aunt's funeral several years ago, told me that when she was a teenager, she actually had attended this church for a while. And my first thought was, why couldn't I have known you then? Then I would have known about this church, and I could have cut out all the wandering and all the questioning of so many decades. But then, of course, I knew that my long spiritual journey has made me a better you, and a better human being. So thank you for being part of my journey to this place, this day, and this blessing. There are those missing that I do want to name. The Sutherlands are not here. Margaret Tuck is not here, and Andy and Alice Reese are not here. Ruth Garrison and Jack Zilla are not here. And some of my grandchildren aren't here. Duncan Teague is ill, and he couldn't be here today. But I do so appreciate all the work that's been done to make this a special day. The staff, Joe and Sharon and Laura, Catherine and David for their contributions, the hardworking Board of Trustees, especially its President Pam Hayward, the musicians here today, the choir with its regular and guest members. Patience, where's Patience? Patience for the wonderful flowers. The reception planners and the volunteers doing everything from directing traffic to baking brownies. My colleagues from the UU, from PRC, from the IFFA, and friends, especially from the UK, Rachel and Fiona, whose test pattern jacket has kept us all focused and awake. And to Will and my 5 generations of family, thank you for your love and support. And so I now call Lawrence and Emily up to extinguish the chalice as I read words of Brian Keeley. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place, and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. Our recessional hymn is Life Calls Us On. Please rise in body or spirit.
seated. We've finished the formal part of today's celebration, but shortly we'll be starting the fun part of the celebration. And we have a beautiful reception waiting for you in our common room. And as Reverend Gaye noted, we had a tremendous number of volunteers putting all their time and talent, both in front of and behind the scenes, to make this a wonderful event for you. So please take advantage of the beautiful foods that people have made for you. And to piggyback a bit on Reverend Mesner's message, you don't want to be driving home tonight thinking, I could have had one more brownie. But also there's so much love and joy in this room. So please take advantage of the people that are here. And I challenge you to introduce yourself to someone you have yet to meet. And I think you will end up having a wonderful afternoon. So do enjoy.
Benediction, the word comes from the Latin to mean to speak well of. And as we leave this place, may we speak well of our time spent together with good music, laughter, words of joy and promise, and good food to come. May we speak well of the possibilities that await us as a free church in and through the new relationship between this minister and this congregation. And may we speak well of the love that exists between us, that fills our hearts, and that calls us on to build together the beloved community. So go in peace, believe in peace, create peace. Blessed be. Amen.